Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 5th of January and we are going to cover two very important topics which are in news. The first is peace agreement with ULFA. ULFA stands for United Liberation Front of Assam. It was an organization formed in the 1970s, 1979 to be precise, and with the aim of liberating Assam from India and making Assam a sovereign independent country. Now, in ULFA, there have been two factions. One is the pro-talks faction, which wanted to talk to the government. That pro-talks faction has signed a peace agreement with India, laid down its arms. Whereas the other faction, which was led by Paresh Barua, which is known as ULFA Independent, is still, against the government of India and they still want to establish sovereign Assam. That is a challenge which is lying in this agreement right now. Next is the MSP policy, a critical analysis. MSP policy of the government started in the year 1967 on the recommendations of L.K. Jha committee. It is a price support mechanism in which the government offers predetermined price to the farmers for their crops which they grow. But yes, MSP has been only favoring a few crops like rice, wheat or sugarcane and has been ignoring crops like oilseeds or pulses, due to which the imports of these crops are rising. The imports of oilseeds are to that extent that we are meeting two-thirds of our domestic requirement by imports. One major factor is that MSP has not been favoring these crops. That needs to be checked, that needs to be revised. So let's get started with the first topic, that is peace agreement with ULFA. ULFA stands for United Liberation Front of Assam, an insurgent group in the northeastern state of Assam. They signed a tripartite peace deal. Tripartite means there were three parties, ULFA plus the center and the Assam government. This agreement was signed on December 29, 2023, last, I would say, just 5-6 days ago. But yes, the analysis of this peace agreement is there in the newspaper now. Now, this peace agreement entails multiple, I would say, aspects. Development package for Assam has been announced. Some political demands of ULFA, they have been met. This is something which is remarkable. We will see into details that what are these political demands. But most importantly, this faction of ULFA has gave up its arms and said that we will not be indulging into any sorts of violence against the Indian state. We have also given up on our demands to make Assam a sovereign independent country, carve it out from India. They've given up on their demands. But the challenge is that entire ULFA has not given up. ULFA pro-talks faction, anti-talks faction. This anti-talks faction is led by Paresh Barua. This anti-talks faction is still anti-talks faction and this peace agreement has been signed with the pro-talks faction of ULFA. This is still a challenge. They are still wanting to carve out Assam from India. This anti-talks faction is termed as ULFA I. I stands for independent. So this is basically what has happened. But yes, we should go back to the history first, that how was ULFA formed, and we'll come forward from there, what has been the timeline and how we have reached 2023 where this peace agreement was signed. That will give you a complete picture about the journey of ULFA and governments dealing with ULFA. Now, a group of radicals including Arabinda Rajkhova. Arabinda Rajkhova is basically the pro-talks leader now, who has signed this peace deal with India. He is heading the pro-talks. So Arabinda Rajkhova, Anup Chetia and Paresh Barua. Paresh Barua is the one who is heading anti-talks presently. They don't want to talk with the government. They formed ULFA on April 7, 1979. Aim was to launch an armed struggle with the objective to establish a sovereign Assam. Now, why did they wanted to establish a sovereign Assam? They were of this viewpoint that government of India has neglected the development in Assam. And since we are neglected, so we should be forming a separate country. This is what led to this feeling or development of this feeling among these people who formed ULFA. The group took a decade to recruit and train its members. These members were trained in Myanmar, China, and Pakistan. Now you can see how, neighbors, particularly hostile neighbors, can be a breeding ground for internal security problems in India. Insurgency, which was created by ULFA, is an internal security problem. Before striking with a series of abductions and executions in that region, northeastern region, the government responded in 1990 and launched this Operation Bajrang, banned ULFA. Assam was declared as a disturbed area, and since any area is declared as a disturbed area, so in that area, Armed Forces Special Powers Act can be applicable. Hence, Assam was declared as a disturbed area in 1990s and Armed Forces Special Powers Act was enacted over there. This act gives extraordinary powers to the members of the armed forces. Now, one thing which you need to know more, that did ULFA have any connections with the Assam movement? What is Assam movement? Assam movement is basically the movement which was run by the students in Assam. What was their aim? Their aim was to remove the outsiders. This movement was against the outsiders. Who were these outsiders? These outsiders were the ones who migrated from erstwhile East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, in the event of that 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War. So from late 1960s, a lot of people started coming in. Northeastern states were full of these kind of people. There were massive demographic changes in the northeastern states. And this led to, a feeling of identity crisis among these, students or Assami students, that these outsiders have come, they will settle down here, and in the future they will dominate over us, they will consume our resources. There may be a possibility that over the time their population is surpassing us. So that kind of, I would say, identity crisis emerged in these students, and that is why this, Assam movement was there. One remarkable fact, that this Assam movement also started in the year 1979, the very same year when ULFA was formed. So these are two parallel things happening in Assam, 1979. Another remarkable feature of the Assam movement was that it was peaceful and on Gandhian lines. Largely it was peaceful. Towards the fag end, when there were elections in 1983-84, there were some instances of violence. But yes, largely this movement was peaceful. The Assam movement, the movement by the students against the outsiders. In 1985, this movement ended. Why? Because the government signed the Assam Accord with the student unions in August 1985. It was 15th of August 1985. This Assam Accord, gave certain safeguards to the locals of Assam, which, gave satisfaction to the people, and they called off this movement. Now the question is that ULFA, which was also formed in 1979, Assam movement which started in 1979, did they have connections with each other? Per se, no. These were two exclusive movements. But it is believed that the ULFA members or ULFA cadres, basically they had some sympathy with the students. But since their ideologies or their methodologies were different, ULFA was radical in nature, spreading violence. This Assam movement was peaceful. So there was no such explicit support to each other. So it was like this parallel movements. Silently they were with each other, but yes, They were not against each other. We can understand it in this way. With the signing of this Assam Accord, the Assam movement ended. But ULFA continued their radical posture. Actually, that was the time when they were training. For the first 10 years, they were training only in countries like Myanmar, Pakistan, or China. Then their movement started, or I would say violent activities started by them. Now, slowly and gradually, ULFA members came to understand one thing, that popularity among masses is with respect to this topic, this issue. If you have this one of your agendas, you will be popular among the public. So slowly and gradually, ULFA had one objective, to carve out Assam from India. Slowly and gradually, ULFA had another objective. They started, pouncing on the outsiders to gather public support in Assam. So that was a shift in, I would say, aims and objectives of ULFA. So it was like this. The timeline of peace process with ULFA, peace process with ULFA has been signed now, a peace deal, 2023, but the process, we'll go through it from the 1990s. 1990s, counter-insurgency operations led to the arrest of 1221 ULFA members in the early 1990s. With support from terror groups such as Harkat-ul-Jihad-e-Islami and Pakistan's ISI, ULFA hardliners set up camps in Bangladesh and Bhutan. Now, they were getting the support of these people. The Pakistan, by hook or crook, destabilize India. This has been one of the objectives of Pakistan right from the very beginning. In 2003, since they were hiding in Bhutan, there was an operation, a joint operation named as Operation All Clear by, Royal Army of Bhutan and the Indian Army in Bhutan, and we targeted these people who were hiding, anti-India elements or insurgents which were hiding in Bhutan. We targeted them, we flushed them out of Bhutan. 2005, ULFA raised hope of peace when it formed an 11-member People's Consultative Group, only to backtrack and unleash a fresh phase of terror. Well, it was there that, something good will happen with the formation of this 11-member group, but actually violence and terror intensified because they were facing backlashes over here. 2009, Sheikh Hasina led Awami League's return to power in Bangladesh. Sheikh Hasina is basically the daughter of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the founding father of Bangladesh, anti-Pakistan. Now, these people were being supported by Pakistan, so obviously Sheikh Hasina would be targeting them. And, she did target them. When she returned to power in Bangladesh in 2009, saw most of the ULFA members being flushed out of Bangladesh also. 2011, leaders of Raj Khova-led faction signed a ceasefire agreement with the center. 2012, opposed to talks, the Barua, Mr. Paresh Barua, who is anti-talks, who is heading the anti-talks faction, expelled Raj Khova. Raj Khova is pro-talks from ULFA. 2013, anti-talks group was renamed as ULFA Independent, ULFA I, and presently we have not signed the peace agreement with this. This is the challenge which is still remaining. 2023, pro-talks group signed peace accord. This is 29th of December, and that is why we are studying this. The 2023 peace accord, what is there? Now, according to the memorandum of settlement, ULFA has agreed to renounce violence, disarm, disband the armed organization, vacate their occupied camps, and participate in peaceful democratic process established by the law. Means they will be taking part in elections. The Ministry of Home Affairs will take a time-bound program to fulfill the demands of the outfit, and a committee would be formed for its monitoring. The pact underlines a comprehensive package entailing an investment of 1.5 lakh crore for all-round development of Assam. The most significant part of the accord is commitment to address the political demands of ULFA. Now, what are the political demands of ULFA? We need to understand this. The first political demand is maintaining territorial integrity of Assam through amicable settlement of boundary disputes with neighboring states. Assam has a boundary dispute with Arunachal Pradesh and other neighboring states also in the northeastern region. That should be resolved. This is what ULFA people want, and this is something very good because amicable settlement is there. The pact envisages ensuring maximum representation for indigenous communities in the 126 member Assam Assembly. The Legislative Assembly of Assam has 126 seats. So maximum representation should be for the Assamese, not the outsiders. So the recent delimitation, 2023 delimitation, is said to have made it impossible for non-indigenous communities to contest 106 seats. They will not be able to contest on 106 seats, means they will be only able to contest on 20 seats, which obviously will not or never bring them in majority. The pact seeks exemption for Assam from Section 3 of the Citizenship Act. Now, what is Section 3 of the Citizenship Act 1955? It deals with people who have renounced Indian citizenship or whose citizenship has been terminated. Actually, these people, their citizenship was terminated, but now since the peace accord is there, so they are seeking exemption from that. So they want their Indian citizenship to be reinstated. Then, to conditionally stop people of one constituency from being registered in another. They do not want that. Prepare an error-free National Register of Citizens. National Register of Citizens is a register which is being prepared in Assam, where a note is being taken where people have entered Assam in or after 1966. They might be asked to go back. Challenges ahead. Now, what are the challenges ahead even after signing this peace deal? The first challenge is proper implementation of the peace accord. Like Ministry of Home Affairs should, be very much prompt on this, because if it is not implemented, then it can again lead to, this pro-Tox faction go back and adopt insurgency. This is the last thing which we want. ULFA I faction led by Paresh Barua is the major challenge. Truce with this faction will only instill peace in Assam. Else, the threat of insurgency in Assam is still looming. So it is there. Now, ULFA I operates from hideouts in Sagaing division of Myanmar. So it is based in Myanmar. Barua, believed to be based on the Myanmar-China border, has repeatedly said talks with the Indian occupational forces. He defines the forces in Assam as Indian occupational forces, like India has occupied Assam, would be meaningless without discussing the sovereignty of Assam. So this is what he wants to portray, that Indians have occupied Assam and we want to liberate it, make it a sovereign country. But to this claim, the Chief Minister of Assam clearly says that people don't want to be sovereign, people want to be part of India in Assam. So this is what, the thing is. So insurgency, although we've gone a step ahead, but this step will only be fruitful if it is implemented properly. And secondly, we also make this ULFA I come to the table, start talks with us. Next is the MSP policy. A critical analysis of the MSP policy it is basically, because in mains you might be getting questions where you need to critically analyze issues. Now, the MSP policy, which was introduced for the very first time in the year 1967 on the recommendations of L.K. Jha committee. This L.K. Jha committee was formed in the year 1964 by Lal Bahadur Shastri. Now, this was the time when Green Revolution was coming into India, and MSP was one of the components or one of the crucial components of Green Revolution. Now, MSP has basically three objectives. First is create a safety net for farmers by ensuring them that you will get this much for the crops which you are growing. Actually, before the onset of any season, let's suppose Rabi season is going on right now. So in October only, government announced MSP for Rabi crops, which it is going to procure. On which price? On what price? So this gives a safety net for farmers. Government will procure our crops. Let us grow. We will not have to find the buyers. Then it protects consumer interests as well. Now let's suppose, a crop fails a particular year. There are more chances that the next year farmers would be apprehensive of growing that crop. They will not grow. But if they will not grow, it will lead to lack of supply or less supply. Less supply will lead to increase in prices. Consumers' interest will be compromised. So what the government does is government intervenes. Government says that MSP for this particular crop which failed last year, we are increasing it by X percent, Y percent, whatever percent it wants to increase, means the government will make it more attractive. So that will make the farmers grow that crop, and the supplies will be maintained and the consumer interest will also be maintained. Enable tweaking in the production pattern. Again, as I explained, so government by increasing or making MSPs attractive of a particular crop, government can tweak or bring changes in the production pattern. A particular crop can grow more, particular crop can grow less. If the government does not want to, it will not make attractive MSPs for that particular crop. That particular crop which the government does not want more, ample supplies are already there. So it is like this, how MSP, plays. But the problem is that MSP is lacking on all these aspects somehow or the other. What are these aspects? We will see. But before that, we should know the basics of MSP. First basic, we got to know that it is a price support mechanism in which the government procures food grains from the farmers at predetermined prices. It was first introduced in 1967, recommended by L.K. Jha Committee. Now, this is important. It is announced by Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs on the recommendations of Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices. CACP recommends Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, and Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs announces MSP. This is what we need to know, because UPSC can ask you tricky questions that CSCP announces MSP. That is not right. CSCP only recommends. CCEA, that is Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, and CCEA announces it. Now, where is MSP lacking? That is the main issue which we need to know. So we have picked up two crops, and these two crops are very, very, I would say, crucial. Oilseeds and pulses. Now, this MSP policy is discriminatory against these two crops. How? Their minimum support price being largely on paper, unlike with rice, wheat and sugarcane. Means whatever the government announces MSP for these also oilseeds and pulses, but their MSPs are largely on paper. Their MSPs are not translated into reality, just like the MSPs for rice, wheat, or I would say sugarcane is there. For sugarcane, it is fair and remunerative price, FRP we call it, not MSP for sugarcane. That is an exception, for only sugarcane FRP is there, but that is also equivalent to MSP only. So, MSP for rice, wheat and sugarcane, that whatever the government announces, the government procures ample amount from the farmers first of all, and in the open market also makes the mill owners procure at MSP. Regulates the mill owners that minimum support price should be the price given to the farmers minimum. Means you can give above MSP but not below MSP. This happens only with respect to food crops like rice, wheat and sugarcane. So here it is discriminatory because oilseeds and pulses are not procured at whatever MSP is announced. Like for example, we'll see mustard, oilseed, currently selling at 5,000 to 15,100 per quintal in Rajasthan. But the MSP announced for oilseeds is 5,650 rupees per quintal. So it is selling below MSP. Whereas rice, wheat or sugarcane, they will either sell at MSP or above MSP, not below MSP. Then chana, it is a pulse. 4,700 to 4,800 per quintal in Maharashtra. And what is the MSP announced? It is 5,440 rupees per quintal. Again, less than the MSP. This is something which is, I would say, claiming it to be discriminatory in nature. So, The second bias. Now this is interesting. This bias is with respect to imports. Now wheat attracts 40% import duty, 70% for milled rice and 100% for sugar. Means if we have to import wheat, rice or sugar, there will be import duty, and import duty is good enough. 40% on wheat, 70% on rice, 100% on sugar. Then the government thinks, yeah, why to import it? Or people also think, why to import it? It will be costly. We'll have to pay these import duties unnecessarily. It is better to grow them here. So it is like this. But if I see the oil seeds on crude palm, soybean and sunflower oil, they are importable at zero duty. If you see this in isolation, this fact that zero duty is applicable on that, it is good. It is making imports cheap, but it is not letting us become Atmanirbhar. This something has to be understood. If duty here is also increased, maybe we will start producing more and more. So these are the two regions, or these are the two aspects in which discrimination is there. Discrimination between wheat, rice and sugarcane on one side, and oilseeds and pulses on the other side, which disincentivize the farmers to grow this. Outcomes of this particular, I would say, lackings. India's edible oil imports have risen 11.6 million to 16.5 million tons, valued at 16.7 billion USD, this 16.5 million tons. And this 11.6 million tons was in 2013-14, 16.5 million tons 2022-23. Imported edible oil is meeting our 2/3 of domestic consumption, which is obviously not a good sign. Now, in the 1960s, 62, 63, 64, 3 on the trot years of drought. And at that time, we were importing 75% of our wheat and rice. 3/4. That opened our eyes. Green Revolution came. And within a matter of, I would say, few years, we reduced our import dependence. Why we did that? Because there was increased focus by the government, along with the farmers were also motivated. Now, similar kind of thing we need to do with oil seeds and pulses as well. Pulses, there is a basic paradox with pulses that India is the largest consumer, largest importer of pulses. So we need to reduce import dependence. Although the things have been better with pulses, with respect to pulses, imports have fallen from a peak of 6.6 million tons in 2016-17 to 2.5 million tons in 2022-23. 90% self-sufficiency ratio we reached in 2022-23. But this year, the current year, has seen again a resurgence of imports. Apart from it, only on a few pulses we are focusing upon, like chana and all. The others are neglected. We are still importing them. Now, why have the outcomes been poor? That needs to be understood. Absence of price and tariff support. Price support means MSP is not attractive. Tariff support, if MSP is attractive, then procurement is not at this rate. Tariff support means the import duty which we talked about. That is basically a problem. So import duty, I would say, should be increased. Simultaneously, production of oil seeds should also increase. First, increase the production, then go for increasing the import duty also. That will lead to reduction in imports. Oil seeds and pulses have not received research and development attention, which is very, very alarming. Now we see here, denial of approval for genetically modified hybrid mustard. It is called as DMH mustard. Dhara hybrid mustard. This has been developed, it has got approval also of the body in Ministry of in the ministry, but yes, the ministry officials further, the highest authority is not giving it approval right now. It is ready. Field trials have been conducted since 2016-17. Field trials are being conducted on this. But yes, it has not been given clearance. That is If this would have been given clearance, then productivity would have improved. This is leading to increased productivity. Even in pulses, the breakthroughs have largely limited to breeding of short duration and photothermosensitive varieties in chana and moong. Whereas other pulses, they are struggling. Chana and moong are only, they're with increased productivity. So that needs to be focused upon. This was basically the critical analysis of minimum support price to the farmers. The worst would be that government comes into picture and start playing populist measures. That obviously the environment, or I would say the situation presently is such, like, because the elections are coming. So there should be a balance while deciding the MSP, that it should be producer friendly as well as consumer friendly. And most importantly, it should be nation friendly or country friendly. It should be in the interest of the country. Now, with this, we've ended today's session, and I will be meeting you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, and most importantly, keep revising. Namaste. Jai Hind.